Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Sabbath Show. And today we're doing the round 17 preview. Can you believe it? It's round 17 already. We only have 6 weeks of the regular season to go, I believe. Something like that. And the finals race is heating up. But anyway, we're going to go through each game nice and quick, see who we think is going to win. And then obviously we'll have a quick summary of it on Monday when I do the review. Anyway, let's get started. We're going to the first game, which will be tonight. That went really fast that week. Port Adelaide are playing Melbourne. This is going to be an absolute cracker at the Adelaide Oval. Look, it's a bit of a toss-up, this one. Port, they've shown their inability to beat very good sides this year, especially in those ones in the 8. But on the flip side, the D's, they came here earlier in the season to Adelaide, and they lost to Adelaide. I mean, it was only a couple points, but look, they weren't switched on. Last week, they came off a loss, so they're probably wanting to come back strong and get a win. The Power, look, they probably just need to pile on the points a bit more to solidify their spot in that top 4. But look, I think this is going to be very close. Ben Brown's back for the D's. Port Adelaide, look, Charlie Dixon, when he's performing, the Power are performing, but usually that's only against weaker opposition. So I believe that Jake Lever and Stephen May will get atop of Charlie Dixon, and the Power will not find many forward options. Although they do have a few other tall forwards, Georgiades and Marshall, but I still think the D's defense is going to be too strong. It's going to hold up very well, and I predict the D's to get up on this one. The next game is Friday night, Essendon versus Adelaide. This is a 7:50 game at Marvel, and Essendon, look, they performed well. They stood up well against Geelong, but they're just not strong enough yet. Adelaide, they've come off, I believe it was a loss last week. Was it a loss? Yes, it was, against Brisbane. But look, I think Essendon have shown their ability to compete with the best, and this is a weaker side. Look, I think they'll be able to get up on this one. The Crows midfield's been very strong this year. I think Essendon's will topple over them, I think. It'll be a very good set of matchups in the midfield, but I think Essendon, their younger guys, will get a bit more involved, as they usually do with weaker opposition. So I think that, when they're performing, Essendon are performing. So I'm pretty sure that Essendon will get up at home. We go to Tasmania for the Saturday Arvo clash between Hawthorn and Fremantle. Hawthorn have shown a lot of improvement in the last month. Fremantle should have won the game against us last week. They rued their missed opportunities. Look, Hawthorn are showing a fair bit of dash. They've lost Will Day, though, I believe. Although these teams haven't been announced. I'm not on top of the injury news. But, look, I think this is going to be a bit closer than people think. Because, even though the ladder shows Hawthorn to be second last, they're playing a bit better than that in this last month. Beat GWS a couple weeks ago. They went back to pretty ordinary form against Port last week, but I'm going to call an upset here. I'm going to say the Hawks will win this one. And not by much, but I think they'll just hold on. I don't know why. Look, if CJ can get going, if their young backs can get going, I think Granger Barras is back in this week. I think that they could play a strong role in getting the victory in this one. Hawthorn are just going to get on top. I think Cozzie's going to kick a couple. I think Tim O'Brien's going to kick a couple. It's just going to be one of those weird games, but I think Hawthorn will just get over the line. And then we have Carlton Geelong at the MCG, 4:35. This is a big game for Carlton. We need to get this one to stay in the 8 or stay in the hunt for a final spot. The Cats are coming off a win against the Bombers last week. With us, our ball use has been very questionable going into the forward 50 at times, and we can't afford to do that against a Cats side that basically wins off intercepting and stuff like that. So I think that we will go into the game very confident. We will go into the game believing we can win. But look, even though we've got a couple wins in the last couple weeks, they haven't been convincing. I'm not 100% sure if we know exactly what we're doing. Look, I think this is going to be very similar to last week's game with the Cats, where they just got on top of a much more inexperienced side. I don't think Carlton are as inexperienced as Essendon, but Geelong are the older side in the competition. I believe that they will get over the line probably by about 4 goals, as a lot of Carlton losses have been this year. We move to Saturday night. Brisbane are taking on St Kilda, and I'm going to definitively say that Brisbane will win this one. They are in a very, very hot streak. They beat Adelaide last week. They've beaten a lot of good sides this year. They beat Geelong the week before. They beat Melbourne just before their bye. I think that, yes, St Kilda, they've improved the last couple of weeks. They didn't beat a very particularly dangerous side in Collingwood the week before they beat Richmond, and I don't know what's up with Richmond. I think Brisbane are just going to be too strong. That one's up in Queensland as well, so they're probably more suited to the dewy conditions. There'll be some very good matchups in the midfield, as I've said with a couple games this round. Jack Steele's had a very, very, very fine season. Lachie Neale, Dane Zorka. I think Lachie Neale's back in this week. We don't know yet. Teams aren't out. But look, I think Brisbane just showed too much class. Their ball movements sublime, and as it should be for a side like them sitting up top of the ladder. So I think they'll win this one fairly convincingly, 4 or 5 goals maybe. But yeah, we'll see how that one pans out. We move to Sunday, where GWS play Gold Coast in a very unusual time slot at a very weird neutral ground. They're playing in Ballarat for this one, and usually it gets a bit swirly up there. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these sides adjust to the conditions, because they barely play here. Look, the Suns, they came off a very good win last week against Richmond. And look, they probably should have won by more than 10 points. GWS coming off a very big win against the then top side, Melbourne. Look, if they can play the exact same way that they did last week, which involved a lot of run and carry, you know, your Whitfields and Callys getting involved a lot, I think this will be very key, especially if it's gusty on Sunday afternoon. GWS are a very clinical side when they're switched on, so I think they'll just be too strong for the Gold Coast Suns, who they won by 10 points. They should have won by more, and sides that are a bit weaker, a bit more inexperienced as Gold Coast are, when they should be winning by a lot more, they just can't convert, whether that may be through kicking a lot of behinds or just not kicking scores at all. So I think GWS will be pretty strong in this one. Finlayson will probably kick 4 or 5, and Himmelberg will probably kick 3 or 4, so I'm going to call that and say GWS will win. 3:20 fixture, Bulldogs are playing the Swans. This is a very much closer game than people will anticipate. The Dogs, look, they took their foot off the gas against North late in the game last week, and you wouldn't want to do this again for a Sydney side that looked very confident last week playing the Eagles. The Swans, when they're playing their corridor game, they're looking very, very threatening. They can kick massive scores, and I think the Dogs will be a little bit stunned by this ball movement that I'm talking about. Their big guns, when they get involved, they win a lot of games. Mills had a very good game last week. Franklin had a good game, but it was also the younger guys, Goulden and Amati, getting involved, which really contributed to a win. Look, I think the Dogs are just going to be too strong. They're going to pull out some last quarter heroics. Bontempelli, McRae, they're all going to come alive in the last quarter. I think it's going to be less than 10 points. But I think the Dogs will get up. And for the final game of the round, surprisingly, it's Richmond and Collingwood playing a 4:10 time slot at the MCG. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fans in for this one. Two sides that are not in the best of form right now. Richmond will be desperate, very desperate to get a win. Collingwood, look, they showed signs of what they can do in that last quarter last week, where they came storming back against St Kilda. And look, if they play like that, I think Richmond could be in strife, but it's just whether that actually happens or not, or whether they pull it out of their ass in the last quarter again. I think Richmond are too good of a football side to lose another game, lose 3 in a row. This game is one they just simply have to win. And you think with the personnel they've got, they understand the circumstances, they've got enough experience behind them, they're pretty well drilled, and well, they've won flags. They know what they're doing. So I think that Richmond will come back very strong from last week's disappointing performance, and they will win this game quite convincingly. All right, so we have one more game on Monday night at Optus Stadium, where there'll be a lot of people for this one. West Coast play North. Well, West Coast just came off a very, very disappointing loss last week. They got mauled at GMHBA by Sydney. North, they're improving with every week. Their younger guys are starting to, show things that they didn't early on. It was looking very dire for the football club. Davies Uniacke, Taron Thomas, Will Phillips, they're all showing more signs than they did much earlier on in their careers. West Coast, it's very similar to Richmond. They have to get this win, and they need to win it convincingly to make up for that percentage that they lost last week against Sydney. I think they lost about 10%. So they'll be looking to gain a bit from this game, I'd assume. But North, they won't be pushovers. They will try as much as they can all night long. So, look, I think West Coast are going to be too strong. North, maybe in a year or two, they will be able to, push this side, and they'll be able to capitalize a bit more. I think it'll be closer than people think, because West Coast are not in good form, and North are probably looking the best they have all year. So I think West Coast will get this one done, not as well as they would like, where they can get that percentage boost, but I think they still will get the job done. And that is going to be our Round 17 preview. I'm not sure how this is going to do. It's going to be a very interesting round of football. It seems like every round I'm saying that it's going to shape the finals run, or the finals teams. There's plenty of big games for these sides to win. Richmond, West Coast, Fremantle, Carlton, St Kilda. Pretty much every side has got something to play for, unless you're down at the bottom, like Collingwood, North, Hawthorn. But I think there's something to play for every team. North, they want to build some confidence into the players, get a couple wins on the board, know that they can do things while on the top. These sides will want to be solidifying their spot in the top 4, the top 8, the top 2. It's all about finals. It's all about finals for these sides up top. So anyway, that's all. I hope you enjoyed this one. This is the first one. I don't know how I did. But yeah, anyway, hope you enjoyed. We will see you for the review on Monday. Peace out.